welcome to the October Slow Flowers member meetup. I'm Deborah Prinzing, founder and creative director of the Slow Flower Society, and I'm so excited to say that October is our member appreciation month. So we've got lots of fun bonuses for members this month. If you follow us on mainly on Instagram at Slow Flower Society. If you receive the newsletter, there's some things highlighted there. And then throughout the month, every day, there's going to be something fun that we'll share. And I want to introduce our team. Nisha Blancas is in her LA. What team is that, Nisha? Dodgers?
Dodgers.
LA Dodgers baseball cap. She just got back from LA. Hi, Nisha.
Hello.
And Karen Thornton, our operations and events manager, is behind the scenes here, and she may jump in and if she has to give us any advice or answer any questions. We've got a good group coming in. We had over 30 people RSVP. We know sometimes people end up getting schedule conflicts, but this will be recorded and we will share this after the fact for everyone to view. I want to just say that it's really great to have these monthly meetups because it's a way to check in, but it's also more importantly, a way to showcase what our members are doing and share their knowledge and expertise with each other. And that's really what's happening today. Because we were focusing on Membership Appreciation Month, I really wanted to highlight what two of our members are doing in their businesses and have them talk about their branding, their marketing, how they engage customers and how they live out their values, and of course the Slow Flowers brand in what they're doing. So we're going to hear from two people, and then please, if you have questions for them, just pop them in the chat, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end. And I'll probably just read those to Toni and Sarah, and then I wanted to add that we do have one giveaway package today. It is the trio set of Slow Flowers collector's pins. And so Nisha will be keeping an eye on everybody's names in the participants list and do a random drawing over the weekend, and we'll let you know next week. Okay, let's get started. So our focus is on how Slow Flowers members are leveraging their membership in Slow Flowers for their brand. And I have two amazing guests. First, I want to introduce Toni Reale. Toni, want to wave for everybody, and we'll put it on speaker view in a minute.
Hi.
So good to have you here, Toni. Toni is from Roadside Blooms in North Charleston, South Carolina. Is that right?
Yep, it is.
North Charleston, South Carolina. That's a mouthful. I did get to visit your shop though. And then our second guest is Sarah Riez from Oakland, California. Hi, Sarah. Sarah owns Wildflower and Bloom, and I've been to her shop. So we've got, I'm endorsing both of these amazing talents. I know what they've done. I've seen their shops, and I'm super familiar with their work. So both Toni and Sarah have been guests on the Slow Flowers podcast in the past, and Karen is going to share share the links to those shows so you can go back and hear them if you're interested. Okay, so first of all, I want to ask Toni to talk, and then we'll bounce over to Sarah. Toni, I think it's unfair to ask a retail florist, to do something on a Friday. Well, it's noon your time. So thanks for breaking away from your shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Give us a snapshot of Roadside Blooms, and then we'll just, ask you to talk a little bit about your branding and marketing.
Great. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and share this and show you what the entrance of our shop looks like. So I am Toni with Roadside Blooms. I started Roadside Blooms actually with a 1971 British ice cream truck that I turned into a mobile flower shop. And I only used American grown and locally grown flowers from the get-go, even before I really knew about Deborah and her pioneering work. Because my background is actually I'm a geologist. I have a master's in geology. I studied climate science. And so I was an adjunct at a local college here for like 10 years. And if you're an adjunct, if any of you are, You know that you can have lots of free time. You don't have the same obligations as a tenured professor, and you don't get paid a lot. So you need a side hustle. So somehow, you know, long, windy road, I got into flowers. And so at my core, environmentalism and sustainability were really important to me. So the truck was really cool, but it was vintage and I'm imported, so it break down a lot. And I did the farmers market circuit, and you would, those of you who do that might relate to this, but folks that go shopping at farmers markets aren't necessarily looking for like a beautifully designed bouquet. They're just looking like for a bundle and grab and go. And so the finances didn't quite work out with that model. But I was already doing wedding flowers on the side, and that quickly took over. And so I kind of started as a party of one in 2010, and now I have 10 employees, and we're crushing it. And we haven't really veered too far at all from our core value of sustainability, which I'm really proud of. So this is a little picture here of the outside of my shop. We are in kind of an up and coming area. If there was a Brooklyn of Charleston, that's where I live. And so there's a lot of emphasis on shopping local and supporting local artisans and things like that. So really Roadside Blooms has kind of two arms, as probably most on this call have. I have a wedding design side and the retail side. And honestly, when I kind of transitioned from the truck into a very small retail shop, I always thought of retail as kind of just something on the side, because weddings bring in so much more money and you only have so much time. So sometimes you have to put your energy where you can pay yourself. But now the retail side has boomed considerably. We sell a lot of plants, and we get all of our plants from a Florida grower who comes up once a week. And so I'm also really proud of that. We don't get anything, we never get anything imported. There's just this one orchid guy who comes once a month, and I'm pretty sure his orchids are imported, at least as babies. So I do really track everywhere we get our stuff from. Pots and things like that are very hard to get locally at a price point that your customers will buy it at. But at the shop, I wanted to point out one fun thing here. And that is, we always have this bouquet bar, and it's made kind of tucked in an old dresser. And you can buy things by the stem. We have grab and go bouquets. And everyone loves this. On Mondays, we have half off our bouquet bar, and they're always 100% American and locally grown flowers. We also do deliveries. And so we have, I want to show you that and how we structure our deliveries, because those of you who may not have yet taken the leap to commit to 100% American and locally grown flowers, I'll show you what I did. And honestly, it is so much less pressure, and there's so much more freedom in just setting the boundaries for your customers on what they can expect. And we have raving reviews. If you go to our Google site, everyone just loves the style that we have. So under flower delivery here, basically we have 3 sizes. We have a small, a medium, and a large. And then we have 2 palettes to choose from, either neutral or colorful. We set clear boundaries in that we use American and locally grown flowers. We do not guarantee any color palette. People may say, you know, I really hate purple. I don't know who those people are, but so we can sometimes, if we have it, we have a big disclaimer. If we have certain things that we can add or omit, we will. But oftentimes we have very clear boundaries, which very much helps. And so because we have like 3 sizes, 2 color palettes to choose from, all the creativity falls back onto us. So we can use dried things. We have a few different farmers that literally just roll up to the shop once a week, and they open their van and we can pick what we want. So we're not pigeonholed into creating like a sunshine bouquet and this and that all have, you know, kitschy names that make you use a certain recipe. Our recipes are basically value-based. And so in the smalls, we have a sheet that says how many focals and fillers you should have. Same with medium and large. And this makes our flower delivery so much easier. We don't have to worry about if we run out of a specific type of flower. I know that a lot of you have, or a lot of florists have suffered from the supply chain issue. And honestly, I haven't, because I have built in my business this freedom and flexibility that tells the client pretty much how it's going to be. And we barely ever have any complaints. We've worked really hard on our sourcing. We get all of our roses from Paja Rosa, who's been a super partner with us and helped my business grow tremendously over the years. So, and they grow roses all year round. And so it's, you know, some things right now are getting hard to get, like quicksands, but mostly them, and then a couple other California farms, and then some local farms here, and then in Oregon. So I feel like opening yourself up to variability and really working those sources is super helpful. So, you know, those relationships are so valuable to me. Because without them, without our growers, we would have nothing. And then I should show you, this wasn't my original idea, but I have incorporated this. We do big weddings, and we always get asks for really small elopements. And so this was, I think it was a Little Bloom florist. I did a little online class with her, and she basically has something similar to this where they're wedding packages for elopement customers. And so we did a photo shoot basically of one palette. And so if you want to do our elopements, like let's look at the bridal bouquet. You have, this is our oatmeal and sand. We have just a few variety of color palettes that they can pick here. And they can purchase a la carte. And this is a great booster for our retail side, because on the wedding side, we just can't accommodate. It was getting too much accommodating a random bridal bouquet, having a 40-minute conversation about their bouquet when there's so much other stuff to do. So creating this package was so helpful. And I looked at the numbers so far this year on just our elopements, and they're amazing. I mean, we can squeeze them in. So we kind of did a photo shoot with our oatmeal sand palette, but there's all these sort of things. We use 100% American and locally grown blooms and foliage. So again, they know there's all these FAQs about what you can and cannot ask for. So we kind of make it real tight. So if they want to order, awesome. If they still want, you know, a super colorful something that doesn't fall within our palettes, then we have other people we can recommend. But we try not to veer from it, because then it just gets too much. I know I have a lot of information, so feel free to shout out a question or anything.
This is really great, Toni. I love what you're doing, because it's just customers don't know what they want anyway. I mean, most of them. So they need to be guided, and you've made it beautiful. So who wouldn't want this palette or the other three? So it's kind of thought through what popular palettes you were getting asked to do anyway, right?
Yes. And ones that we want to do too. So there's that, you know, at some point in your business, you kind of want, like what you put on Instagram. We don't put everything that we do on Instagram, because I don't necessarily want to do big puffy hydrangea balls. We do those because they pay the bills, but we don't post that on our social media necessarily, because we want to put out there what we want to do again, kind of thing. I will say too that this structuring my retail side like this, we have a hotel account downtown where we're their florist for their guests, and they just order small, medium, large, neutral or colorful. That's it. We do Louis Vuitton. We have a Louis Vuitton store that we just picked up a couple months ago. We do their little, they call it like customer perks or something, where if they've had a good sale, they might want to send their sales client, a little note of appreciation. And what's interesting is that when they approached us, I was like, have they been in our shop? Like, we are not Louis Vuitton. We can never afford to be. But anyway, so, you know, actually when they sent us their list of kind of ethics, business ethics, they have a whole thing on sustainability. And so when we told them everything that we do and how we only use American grown flowers and such, and can still stay in their general color palette using American grown flowers, they were like over the moon. So sometimes I think just saying, standing strong in your, belief and is actually, people accept that and love that. So I haven't really had much pushback at all. On the wedding side of things, if we look at, I'll just pull up my wedding Instagram. And so like 99% of everything on here is American grown. Pajarosa, interestingly enough, grows baby's breath. So sometimes it's not something I ever think that's grown in the US, but it is. So we petal pickers. If you are not familiar with petal pickers in South Carolina, you should follow Daniel. He's a hoot and we can learn a lot. So you can see the type of, really beautifully done weddings that we do. And almost all of these bouquets are American grown and locally grown. There's an amnesia rose. I can't find a source for that. So it's very far and few between, but I always know which ones they are. And our brides love that, even if they're not someone that I would think that really cares about that. I barely ever have to substitute something for what I can get American grown. So I'm super proud of that. Our clients appreciate that, both on retail and wedding side. And I will say that there's, so much freedom in just setting your boundaries with your clients, because you can pick and choose even the week of. Sometimes I'll get growers lists on the Monday before the Saturday wedding. I'm like, oh yeah, I definitely want this, and that, because that goes with the color palette. I don't consult my client. They trust us, and it works out beautifully.
Toni, we've got a couple questions. Is this a good time to stop and just toss them out to you?
I think that's
okay. That's so beautiful. One is from Gina, and she wanted to ask you to expand a little bit on your corporate sales program. How do you reach out to companies like the Louis Vuitton thing? It sounds like you kind of just have them order off of your existing menu, but maybe not all the time.
Yeah. Oddly enough, with Louis Vuitton, they came to us through, in South Carolina, in Charleston, I should say. We are so lucky. We have an amazing group of florists, and Deborah knows this because she's seen it. And we all work well together mostly. We freelance for each other, and we loan things out to each other because there's so much business to go around. I think the competitiveness is really cut. But another florist who doesn't do she does pop-ups at Louis Vuitton sometimes, but she actually, she doesn't have a retail shop, so she couldn't keep up with what they were asking. So she recommended us. That's how we got it, which was so awesome.
And then the hotel, how about the hotel client that you have?
The hotel client was, we knew through the grapevine they weren't happy with their florist in town, but the sales manager there is good friends with a good friend of mine, and that's how I heard it. So I reached out, not saying anything that they weren't happy, just letting them know that we're around. So, and then we have some other random accounts, like an apartment complex nearby, who they give move-in gifts to their new folks. So I would actually like to expand on our more corporate offerings, but the ones that we do have kind of just like fell into place.
Maybe we'll do a roundup article about this, because I'm thinking of a few past podcast guests who've really done that, try to expand on corporate, and Sarah may have some things she wants to add when she speaks. It still goes back to your role in the community and your network and your walking the talk. And I guess that's the last thing I wanted to make sure we didn't forget to talk about, is that you've been doing some writing for the local lifestyle magazine. And I'm really impressed with what you've done. And are you still doing that? And can you talk a little bit about how you pulled that deal together?
Well, there's a local Charleston City paper, it's called, and it's like the free magazine or free paper once a week. It's kind of a little edgy paper, but they reached out and asked if we wanted to advertise with them, which wouldn't necessarily be a good fit for us. And I said, well, how about I trade? I'll write an article and once a month, and we can trade, advertising for for my efforts. And so I've been doing it actually, like I think 1 year exactly now, once a month. And so what I did last year is I saved up all those bucks and used it for Valentine's Day offerings. And Valentine's Day, 100% American grown flowers. So that's how I got into it. And I never considered myself a writer. When I did writing as a geologist, they were all scientific papers. But this has been really fun actually. And I've used used the things I write about, whether it's plants or flower. My first article was that not all flowers are created equal, and really used Deborah's teachings and into that article. And I got a lot of great feedback about it. And I use all those articles to help educate my staff on different things they can talk to our customers about. They can be turned into blogs. Bits of it are used for social media. So actually that effort really pays off, because I'm kind of forced once a month to come up with something, and then all those bits and bobs,
Yeah.
work out.
That's awesome. What would they have asked you to pay for an ad? Do you think? What was the kind of range? Like several $100s?
Yeah, at least $300 to $400. I think a full page is like $1,200.
So it's worth it to you to trade your expertise, and plus you're then seen as an expert, as a author, rather than just a generic ad that might not necessarily catch people's eye as much.
Yes.
And so what did you mean when you saved up all that stuff for Valentine's Day? Did you
all the trades, just so every article is a certain dollar amount. And so I just saved all those, that trade money and used it for that.
Oh, I see. So you didn't even need to have an ad in the issue that your article appeared in. You just took that credit. Brilliant.
I could have, I think it was a full page ad even at that point, which I never would have afforded.
Right.
Or set money aside for.
Wow, that's wonderful. Wow. Okay, let me quickly check and see if there's any other questions. I think that Gina, who asked the question, maybe I can connect you guys by email. Would you be willing to chat with her a little bit more, Toni, about that, about the corporate stuff? And then you've inspired me to work on an article that we'll run sometime later this year, kind of on this. One of our members who lives in my hometown, where Alaska Airlines is based, has blown up with corporate work from Alaska Airlines. And so I know she would be willing to share how she makes that happen, which is a really, kind of hitting the big leagues. So yeah, Toni, thank you so much. I just adore you. And I'm so glad that you joined us. And now we're going to go to our next wonderful guest, Sarah Reyes. And Sarah, I'm sorry I introduced you as Wildflower and Blooms. I made a faux pas. It's a Wildflower and Fern. Yes. And this woman has ferns galore in her Oakland shop. So how could I forget that? Sarah has been like Toni, longtime Slow Flowers member, super invested in the message with both her clients, but also her community and her employees. And Sarah has the distinction of being one of the only people who has attended all of the Slow Flower summits. I guess we tried to make a little splash about that when we were at Filoli, Sarah, but maybe you need a tiara next year for the award. But I'd like to just jump over to your business, Wildflower and Fern, and have you introduce it to people and give everyone a snapshot. And while you're talking, I'll try to pull up your website on the screen. Okay.
Okay. Like I mentioned to you guys this morning, I was going to sit in my car, but I think I figured out a way to kind of walk around and show the shop a little bit too. Kind of show you what the girls are doing this morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, so Wildflower and Fern began as another business called Unfurled about 6 or 7 years ago, and it was a wholesale business. I did a little bit of retail pop-ups for myself to try and make some income, and then started doing wholesale for other florists. I got inspired by the farms up in Sonoma County, so I would drive up once a week, pick up things directly from the farms and at the Sonoma Flower Market, bring them down for other folks. That wasn't super lucrative for me, and I ended up taking a job at a flower shop in Oakland, and through that experience was able to do this sort of wholesale growers market pop-up thing. That ended up leading into me owning a shop. So I focus more on retail and have a small, more boutique wholesale experience now. I'm going to turn this around for a minute just so you can kind of see what's happening this morning. Let's see. So this is the shop. We're in
Oh, how
Rockridge,
fun. I love
in
it.
Oakland. Yeah, it's a little, we're getting things figured out this morning. The team is just putting out all of our local flowers. So like Toni, we focus on locally sourced, sustainably grown blooms, mostly from Northern California, some from Washington and Oregon. And yeah, we're pretty much, because we're in California, able to do this year round, which is, we're really lucky we get that. Hey, Adrian. Adrian is actually one of my staff members who owns Lavender Fields Forever, and she grows lavender up in Sonoma County and distills and sells essential oils. So it's really nice that each of my team members has something that they do on the side that fits in well with what we're doing here. I'm going to turn us back around so I can sit still for a minute.
That was so fun to see the shop. And for just my commentary, I want to say it's a little jewel box, and you have maxed it out by spilling out onto the sidewalk, right? Like that's part of the character of the shopping center you're in.
Yeah, it's COVID, obviously changed everything for everybody. We got these little parklets that the restaurant next door put out that I'm able to use in the morning for stuff, and we can spread out into, and it's kind of invited this fern alley that we've created out here. We hang ferns out on the eave near the parklet, and yeah, just kind of spread out.
That's fabulous. So you mentioned that your employees all have their own kind of disciplines, and I feel like people find their way to Wildflower and Fern to maybe they don't need to know they need to work for you, but they want to seek a collaboration. And you've really nurtured this cohort of people who are artists and growers, but also come and work for you.
Yeah, I mean, we had an employee that was my shop manager before COVID hit, and she's also a farmer. She was involved in the greenhouse program at the UC Santa Cruz growing program. And so when COVID hit, she couldn't come back to work because her partner's immunocompromised. So she was growing at home, drying things and making wreaths. And I'm going to turn the screen back around so I can show you what she's been making. So
Wow.
Laura of Betoken Blooms makes these. She's growing the materials for the wreath bases and quince and grape, and she grows and dries all of the blooms she's growing. So these are actually dried dahlias, and they retain their color. She's drying them, really professionally and sustainably. She's not using any extra materials to do it. She's just hanging everything in the garage. We're also supporting a couple other farms as things wind down for them and buying their dried materials. So this wreath is grown by Full Belly Farm, certified organic farm in Northern California. And we're starting to feature those too.
Wow.
And the wreaths are just flying out the door. We can't keep them in the shop. It's that time of year, but it allows me to support these farmers all year round. Even though we're in California and our season's really long, things are cooling down. The nights are really cold. We're probably going to get our first hard frost in some areas pretty soon. So we found ways to keep supporting those farmers throughout the year as much as we can. I have another employee who, her other job isn't floral related, but it's like an arts therapy. So Abby is a therapist. She got her master's while she was working for me over the last couple of years, and brings the flowers into that and gets therapy here working with the local flowers. So it's all the way around. It's just this symbiotic relationship with the staff and the flowers. And I'm going to sit down for a minute just so I can focus on something I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, walking and talking is hard.
Yeah.
And when
this
you have
is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me.
Well, now you're going to be a pro at it. You know, they could do Instagram lives.
Now watch out. You're going to see my face plastered all over the place.
And Toni asked you to talk a little bit about whether you offer wreath making workshops or workshops in general. I know that that's something that COVID kind of interrupted, but that you had plans to do.
I'm having a hard time hearing you because I'm right by the freeway. So I'm going to go inside.
Oh, sorry.
Close
Yeah.
the door. Yeah. It's a little quieter.
Toni was just asking about your whether you're teaching wreath workshops, and I know you had workshops on the plan.
It's on the plan, and it's still in the plan, but the plan totally changed. So when I opened the shop, I wanted to focus on the retail for a bit, get my bearings, get through. I opened in September of 2019, wanted to get through my first Valentine's Day, and then start doing workshops. My space here is very small. At the time, I didn't have an extra studio downstairs, but during COVID, that was built, so that's helped. It's still not an appropriate place to have the public come in and do classes. So we have some limitations due to the space that we have. However, we're in a community in Oakland and Berkeley where there are places you can go that are sort of artist shared spaces. So we're looking into that because there is a big demand for it. Like I said, we've mostly been focusing on the retail. That's our bread and butter. I don't do I'm not really an event florist personally. We do some event work through the shop, but we want to focus on community engagement, adding in the workshops and classes, and just getting the local, mostly organic flowers into the hands of the end consumer. We interact with other event florists and help source their materials. So we're kind of in the event side that way, which is pretty exciting. We're probably going to start doing workshops next month to do some holiday stuff, but we're still kind of working out the kinks and figuring out where we're doing it, that kind of thing.
Well, you talked about interacting with wedding and event florists who, don't have retail. So they're kind of in a different space than you. And what I've been impressed with is how you are curating inventory for them. You're wholesaling because of your buying expertise. And I think this is something that with the pandemic and the supply chain, everyone's freaking out about. You and Toni both seem very calm about your supply chain, but it's because you've developed relationships with farmers. And in your case, Sarah, you're pretty much, your circle is smaller because it's California, but even still, you're discovering farmers that no one else has discovered. So maybe you can talk a little bit about how you're running a wholesale side of the business as well as the retail side of the business.
Yeah, the wholesale side of it right now is very, very boutique. It's very small, a handful of florists that come through. That being said, that handful of florists and I are sitting down and talking about how they can help me grow that. And it'll stay boutique, but it'll stay small. I mean, it'll get a little bit bigger, but it'll stay boutique is what I meant to say. Mm-hmm. So right now I have flowers coming in constantly. I do go to the San Francisco flower market to add some stuff in, but most of the stuff is coming directly from the farms in my area. And so I do a farm loop up to Sonoma County once a week on Wednesdays. One of my staff members, Laura Dyson, does our farmers market run on Thursday. I do another farmers market run on Sunday. We have a small farm, Lunaria, Gabby, she grows down in Pescadero and she pops up here Thursdays. So that's what was in the back of my car is Gabby's stuff. And so we had a farm that was dropping off from Healdsburg, Front Porch Farm, every week, but they're starting to wind down because of end of the season and water issues. So I said, all right, I'll just drive to Healdsburg once a week and listen to Deborah's podcast because I never make time to do that. So I've listened to like 6 in the last 7 days. It's been awesome. And so the wholesale side of it is going to become a pop-up similar to what I used to do when I worked for another flower shop owner. And because I've been, challenged by what COVID's thrown at me. I'm just trying to keep the doors open and the staff paid. I don't have business cards right now because we ran out during COVID, and it seems like a small thing to just turn around and reorder or do. but there's so many small things. And so I'm choosing, my bandwidth is what it is. I've mentioned this before in interviews with you and articles, that I came into this business from a mental health crisis. That's how I sort of left a stressful job and situation and came in to do this. So I'm open about the challenges around that. And the fact that I run this successful shop and I made it through, it's huge, and I do give myself that, but I know where not my downfalls, but I know where my challenges are. And so there are a lot of things that I need to get organized and take care of. But I'm overthinking it is what I'm learning. And that I did do a successful pop-up before and it worked. And the reason it worked was, at the time, I worked for a shop owner that would let me take all the stuff I didn't move and move it through the shop. So I can do that here. I don't have to recreate the wheel. So what we're going to start doing is at least 1 day weekly pop-up. The florists will be able to pre-order things, but also I can buy in a lot of stuff so that they can shop it, because that's the way most of my peers want to see.
Sure.
Right. They want to see what they're shopping for. So I can buy in 10 bunches of this, 10 bunches of that, and move it through the shop and make mixed bouquets and figure it out. So I'm just in that space right now, is trying to get that kind of organized.
It's a mind shift, Sarah, what you're describing. It's like you might not know where a particular bunch is destined, but you now, with the pop-up for wholesale and the retail, you now have two ways to move that product if there's preferences on, one side or the other, like all the wedding designer needs every apricot flower you have. Well, then your retail customers just don't get apricot that week.
Right. Yeah.
Gina Shrewsbury, who's from the Sacramento area, wants to know how she can get in on this wholesale program. So
she knows how to find me. No,
she's local enough.
Yeah, she's definitely local enough. Hi, Gina. Yeah, so that's a good question. I want to know that too. That's what I'm figuring it out right now. And so the more florists that hear about this in this casual way and reach out, I think that's going to help me be able to build it, because part of it is, what are the needs of the florists? I focus on the needs of the farmers. What's the best day for me to come up there? But, if I'm working with a lot of event florists, I know they want things at a certain time of the week, right? So do I have to adjust when I drive up and work that out? But I can't figure those things out without having some other pieces of the puzzle. It's a real puzzle. I can do it. But just reach out. Just know that I haven't really put out a wide blanket about it. It's gonna, with most things with me, it just sort of organically grows, happens just naturally. So just reach out if you're interested in something like that. It might be a day where you just don't want to drive all the way into the city, or I do have access to things you're just not going to find in the city, or you're going to go to the city and you're going to pop here on your way in or your way out.
Well, I think that is your sweet spot, is that going into San Francisco to the San Francisco Flower Mart is complicated and logistically, just a barrier for some people. And the fact that you're in East Bay, you can serve the East Bay florist, which is exploding, and have an easy access to many of the farms without having to go through the city. It's just you're serving a whole different population. That would otherwise slog their way into San Francisco at 2 a.m., which is being less exciting probably than before. Sarah, can you talk about your marketing? I feel like most of it is customer education face-to-face, and then also on Instagram, but I might be missing something. I'll pull up your Instagram while we're talking.
Okay. No, you're totally right. I was thinking about that. At first I thought, am I the appropriate person to be talking about this? Because I don't even have a business card for the shop right now. I'm not using like the infographics that you have, that I have access to through Slow Flowers, which I've used a lot in the past. I haven't been using recently, but I haven't been doing any kind of marketing. So, however, I talk about it with everybody that I see, my staff, because they all got to go to the Slow Flowers Summit this year. and see how these connections work. They talk to our customers about it. Other florists that come by, we talk to them. So even though I might not be using like hard copies of the information or posting a lot about it, we're talking about it all the time. Every new farm that I connect with, we talk about it. And so, and these new florists that are kind of surrounding me right now and wanting to do this pop-up, support the pop-up. I mean, it's going to be something where it's like a membership or a club or something.
Oh, well, we really want to know about that.
But yeah, so
we want, that's exciting, because then you really have this built-in customer base. You're not just opening the doors and waiting for people to walk in.
Exactly. And it also, once the wholesale customers have gone through, I could maybe potentially do some sort of almost retail public pop-up also, if I needed to. There's opportunities for that kind of stuff too, making it like a exclusive flower shopping experience. Something a little bit different than the sidewalk shop,
like a private sale kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. And I'm in a market where that would be attractive to some people, you know. So
that's wonderful. Well, you know what? We've got you at a stage where many people are, Sarah, and that is that we've been putting some of our plans and dreams on hold. And, you know, in your case, I think you've got the right staff. It's just finding time so you're not so spread so thin. And I'm so glad you talked about self-care and personal bandwidth, because I think I think everyone is feeling really burnt out right now. And so
yeah, and
taking a deep breath.
There are some people that share that online and a lot of people that don't. And Instagram is really pretty and the flowers are really pretty, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes. And so I feel like it's important to share so that people know, you know, they're not alone. That's kind of huge, especially right now.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Karen to see if she can highlight Toni too, so the three of us can kind of answer any questions that, there we go, that the participants may have. We have a really good group today. It's encouraging to hear from two retail florists who are, you know, kind of in some ways you're like twin sisters in your values and your message to your customers, but your models are different, and those ranges of where you are in your business, I think, are encouraging to people. So there's not just one model that works for everybody.
Right. And I would say that COVID had, I think, with all of us, especially retail florists, really made us think how to pivot and think of all the models and which ones would work. I offered Zoom workshops where people would pick like their bag or bucket of greens. Just one example of pivoting and figuring out.
Yeah.
This model.
Yeah, we had a few of my peers, florists in the area, that did that during COVID, and I was like, oh, I need to do this. But it was that bandwidth thing. It was, for 3 months, I'm here by myself, keeping this open. I didn't even have, you know, for a little while, one staff member. Then we brought one person in. And so there was all these things I wanted to do. And I just, you know, I would get a little bit jealous of what like some of these studio florists could do or that we're doing. And then I thought, well, I'm doing what I'm doing, you know, like I'm moving a lot of flowers. You know, it was spring. All the farms' flowers just popped open, and there was nowhere to take them.
You had to move fast.
I was hustling. Yeah, but I was really inspired, Toni, watching your images this morning when you were speaking, and it's a lot of the ideas that I have and that I want to implement, and it's time for me to. I was just really inspired, and it's time for me to delegate that to someone who does those things and get it done. There's a florist that a lot of you are probably familiar with, Pilar from Gorgeous and Green. She's local and a good friend of mine. And she and I have been talking a lot about increasing awareness around sustainability in our area with flowers. And I was looking at her website, and she has like a a la carte wedding thing that she has shifted into, and it just looks really good. And I think highlighting and having boundaries around what works for your business or for my business, and doing that and just letting the customers that are your customer come to you because they want what you do. That's huge.
Yeah. It's true. And I think we all have to sort of know what we're good at, and, it's that whole imposter syndrome of like seeing what other people are doing. Take the inspiration that works for you and don't compare about the things that aren't in your lane. I think it took Toni a long time before she realized how to separate the two businesses in terms of communication, right?
Oh yeah, in terms of communication. And I need to say that I couldn't do anything I do at this caliber without my staff, because I've had it, it took a long time, but now I'm in a place where I can go on a Friday before a wedding and do this here. Whereas, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago, there's no way I could do that. But it is all about delegating and letting go and trusting. Trusting people, but I was very lucky. My business got 2 of the PPP loans, and so I was able to keep people on. And during that slow time when all the weddings were gone, we got really creative about, okay, how are we going to get everyone paid? All right, let's do this. But having that cushion of knowing that everyone was going to get paid because I got this grant.
Yeah. For me, like I got 2 fairly small PPP loans because I had just opened right before COVID, and maybe about 5 months, and then but my space is so small. I'm in 200 square feet, and it's split into these little rooms, and so I couldn't bring my staff back. Like I didn't have a safe space. Really, only one person could work in the room, so there's those challenges. Then they built me. My landlords built a workshop downstairs, and so then I could bring another person on, and then you think things are opening up, and then you're like, okay, I can have 2 or 3 people upstairs. Nope, we're all running into each other. It just doesn't feel safe. So it's, everybody has those challenges.
Yeah. But look what you've achieved, considering you're in 250 square feet.
Good point.
Hey, Karen reminded me, and she put in the chat that we have this wonderful Slow Flowers member marketing toolkit. The link is in the chat. We created this earlier in 2021 to basically collect all of the ways that people can maximize their membership and plug in. And so it is for members only. If you're on here and you're not a member, please respect that it's for members only, and or join, and then you can have it. But follow that link, and it's got access to, like you talked about, the branding, Sarah, all the infographics, all the logos, and that sort of thing are available, as well as just ways to plug into all of our channels, including maybe speaking at the Zoom Slow Flowers monthly member meetup. So thanks, Karen, for reminding me about that. Any closing thoughts or closing questions before we wrap it up, everybody? I'm just so grateful, Sarah and Toni, to both of you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, absolutely. Great to meet you, Sarah. I'm obsessed with your shop. It looks so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm obsessed with your website. I'm like so excited to really delve in and see more about what you're doing.
Okay.
And I just love this connecting. That Deborah, that you're like, you're the, I don't know, I guess I'm losing my words now. I haven't had my coffee yet.
Could I be Elphaba or Glinda? Which good witch should I be? I just saw Wicked on Broadway, so that's on my mind.
You can be whoever you want to be. No, just the way you bring people together and just kind of motivate people to really connect is really huge.
It's so gratifying because we're all kind of on this parallel path, and yet we're so isolated, and it's just great to be able to have both of you here to share your stories. And that's one of the things, sort of one of those intangibles of Slow Flowers that's really hard to capture and explain to people. But just for example, I was in New York earlier this week, and I visited a flower farmer who said, oh, I'm going to LA on Friday to see my son for parents' college weekend. And I said, you should go to the LA flower market. She's like, well, I don't even know how to navigate that. So I connected her with some members in LA, and they've put the whole itinerary together for her. And it was just like a lovely thing to watch happen. And I just stepped back and let it happen. And I was just like, yeah, that's what we are. We're here for each other. So, Anyway, it's wonderful to have you here. We will have the replay of this because I think there's a lot of good content that will help people who signed up but couldn't attend. But we had a good group today, and I just have a few announcements before we wrap up. So Sarah and Toni, we're going to give you our hand waving applause. Thank you both. And we have, as I said, one giveaway, which is going to be the set of collector pins for Slow Flower Society. And Nisha will grab a winner from among the names here. And then we had lots of giveaways last month. So I just want to give a shout out to our speakers from last month, Rebecca Raymond and Gina Thresher. They taught they talked about styled shoots, and they gave away a registration to their course, The Ins and Outs of Styled Shoots. And Candace Howard of Duchess Farms won that. And I will say there is a $100 discount for anyone who's a Slow Flowers member to register for that online course. So if you didn't catch it and you're interested, reach out and I will connect you with them. We gave a copy of Where We Bloom to Wanda Hagan of Fox Hollow Peonies. And I thought I saw Wanda on here today. And then 3 members received our sort of collection of plant tags and row markers: Darcy McPherson of Silver Thread Gardens, Debbie Middleman of Me Viva Designs, and Chris Blackstone of Make Sense New Hampshire, or NH. So anyway, yay for all of you. Our next meetup is the second Friday in November, November 12th at the same time, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. I have a guest who's trying to decide between her availability in November or December. So to be determined. And if you ever have any suggestions, please reach out and share them. We're very excited to just come together as a community. I'm sorry, I'm distracted because there's just a few little things in the, Karen, can you help me this? Oh, Karen's been posting the video from last month's member meetup. Thank you, Karen, for that. And Candace said, am I doing the 20% off Black Friday sale this year for the Slow Flowers shop? You know, we better figure that out, Candace. Karen and I will discuss. I guess we should. I'm trying not to think that far ahead, but it's coming right up. So sure, we'll figure that out and share that with everybody. That's cute. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and good luck with the weddings, Toni. And thank you so much, Toni, and Sarah. Thank you so much Sarah's back in her car now, so you can see all the oh my gosh, the juicy stuff from her farm visits. Thank you. I'll see you all on Friday, November 12th. And this has been wonderful. And keep following us for the rest of October because we've got lots of stuff happening for Member Appreciation Month. Okay, take care. We'll see you all.